There are many different standards and drawing options that can be modified. Once these options have been set, we can save the drawing template so these options will be the defaults. To get started, let's open 17.2-1 and make a drawing. I'm going to go under the File menu, and since I already have a part open, I can use this Make Drawing from Part. And notice I get the template that we just created in the last movie. And also you see the tabs here at the top are just the other templates that are available. So I'm going to pick that TT template for the olive oil company and click on OK. And that's going to open that template in the background here. And then it also brings up this pretty handy little window on the side and gives me some views that I can just drag and drop in. So I'm going to grab that top view and just bring it right in. Okay, there's a view. And then automatically, as soon as I create that view, it turns on the projection views, and I can just go and make a couple of projections of that same part. When I'm done, hit Escape, turns that off, and I can just move some of these around to lay them out on my sheet a little bit better. They look nice. Let's go ahead and add a few dimensions now, just so when we do change some of the options, we can see how those dimensions are going to change when we make those option changes. And I'm going to throw one up here, and then one over here. Okay, so there's a few different views here, and maybe we'll do one on the thickness of the block over here. Okay, let's go up now and change some options. So under the Options tab here, click on that, and under Document Properties, we've got all these different choices here. The very first one is the drafting standards, and we looked at that before. And right now we're in an ISO modified environment. We can change to ANSI or anything else. If I change this, it's going to change all the styles and fonts and methods for laying things out. So if I change to ISO, for instance, I go back here and I click on OK, notice all these views changed. All the annotations, now they're aligned with the leader in a vertical orientation here instead of horizontal. And this way it looks quite as nice in my opinion, but you can modify this to however you want to have your drawings look. And same thing, probably the font's a little bit small, so we might want to go back and modify some of the stuff to go and change that around. Let's go back to Options, back to Document Properties. I'm going to change this one back to ANSI, and then let's go through some of these options. So first one is a little plus mark. I can click on the annotations. So any kind of notes we're going to be placing on our drawing is going to be defined here. The font, the size, the style, and everything else is defined here. So right now we're using 12 point. I can maybe change that to points, 18, click OK. And now notice it says, I've deviated from the standard, the ANSI standard, and now we're in an ANSI modified standard. Okay, that's fine with me. And we've got a couple of different types of arrows. We can do a lot of things here. Then we jump down to balloons. When we start making assemblies, how do we want our balloons to look? Same thing with datum, so we can change everything. The leader style, the font width, the line width, I mean, a lot of stuff here. Geometric tolerancing, same thing. Go into notes. We can change the font again, the style, the surface finishes, weld symbols. We get down to dimension. We got another plus mark we can click on here. We can change the font directly for those as well. So maybe I'll make these 22. You can make whatever fits your drawing best. And then a lot of different things for dual dimensioning, your primary precisions, your dual precisions, fractionals if you're going to be using those. How do you want your arrows to look? You know, if you want to make a bigger arrow or a longer arrow, I can adjust all the size of the arrows and change them to my preference. And different zeros, we have standards. Same thing coming down to angles. How do we want our angles to show up? How do we want the text position? Do we want it to kind of be on the circle there, aligned horizontally? Bunch of choices. Arc length, same thing. Text position is a big one. How do we want the font to be laid out? Chamfer. So we can really control almost everything about how our drawing is going to look by going through some of these different options here. Something like the diameter or radiuses, we can establish here. How do we want the text position to be? Same thing with whole callouts. We got linear dimensions. How do we want them to look? And these are the ones that I change a lot. This is my favorite one here in the middle. It's just horizontal text. That way you don't have to turn your head sideways to go and read all the different values. Ordinate values here, radius, center lines. How do we want these marks to look? If I go down here to a couple of tables, view labels, virtual sharps. Virtual sharps is something like if you have two lines intersecting, how do you want that to look? So they do that a lot in sheet metal when you have a bend and you want to have a virtual sharper showing where those two edges might come together. As far as detailing, this is a pretty handy one here. So first off, we're showing what do we want to show by default. And then over here, we have this auto insert, which is really nice. So by default, it can automatically add center marks for holes. And that can save you a lot of time if you're using that. Same thing with automatic center lines. If you get automatic balloons, if you're working with assemblies, dimensions marked with drawings. So a lot of things that we can just bring in automatically. And then, sometimes you might want to have different templates for different type of options. So for instance, if you're working with sheet metal and you have a grid pattern with a lot of holes in it, bringing in center marks might not be the best choice because sometimes that can make your drawing look very cluttered, and then you have maybe a few hundred center marks to go get rid of. So depending on which type of part you're working with, you might or might not want these things turned on. You can have a grid to lay things out if you want. You can set the spacing here. Units is probably going to be the one we're going to use the most. We're going to go and say, what unit system do we want to use? The most common will be millimeter or inch pound second. And then what are our decimal points we want? Do we want a 2-point, a 3-point, a 4-point, and so on? So we can define all those right there. And then same thing if we have a dual dimension, if we have different angles, things like that, we can change these around. So, 2 or 3 place decimals will probably be the most common ones you're going to see. And we'll go down a little bit further here. You got different types of lines you have in your drawings. We can go through those. The different styles. We can have dashed lines. We can have a bunch of different things we can establish here. And we can actually load new ones if we wanted to, or save custom ones. Same thing with line thicknesses. These are our standards. And image quality. This is another one that's important. If you have a big drawing and it looks kind of more like an octagon and then a circle at that point in time. So if you have a lower resolution, notice it starts turning into more like a multi-sided shape versus actually like a circle. But the higher you go here, also the more system resources you're using. So you want to, somewhere in the mid-range here would probably be fine, unless you really want to show something very accurately and you have a little more time to wait, you can do that. And same thing, you got a little slider you can do for the wireframe as well. And then the very last one here is sheet metal, and if you're making drawings for that, which we haven't really covered sheet metal yet, but it allows you to insert bend line information and things of that nature. So anyways, those are all the system options you can do. You can see there's quite a bit of stuff that you can go ahead and change to modify your drawing. So once you've gone through here and made a bunch of modifications and got your drawing, so it's really looking good, then you want to go get back to your drawing and make sure then once we've made all those changes, go back here and make sure you go to File and Save Sheet Format. Right? Save that sheet format or overwrite your existing format. That way the next time you open that drawing, it's going to be using that new sheet format. And same thing with properties. So that's a sheet format, which is going to be the location of all the note changes. And then the other one we need to make sure we change is the part template. And most of those system options are actually located in the part template. So there's two files. There's a sheet format and there's also the part template. So we need to save both of those. And just go save that part template. We go to File, Save As. And as far as a drawing, we need to go down here to Drawing Templates. And you can see we have a template here. We can go up to the C folder, go down to SOLIDWORKS Data, and there's that tt.drawing template. That's where all that data is stored in. So if I overwrote that file, that would save that file out. But keep in mind, we don't want to have any views like this in our drawing when we save that drawing template out, because then those views will automatically show up the next time we make a drawing. So when we do work with the drawing template and go out and save those options out, we want to go back and just open a blank drawing, make the changes to the template, make the changes to the sheet format, save those out. And that way, when we open it again, everything's looking perfect and we can just get straight to drawing. Saving your options as the defaults in a drawing is the single best time saver in SOLIDWORKS. More than half of the new users that I encounter don't know this and don't make these changes and have to go back and modify their sheet format or drawing options every single time they're making a drawing. This could be very time consuming and it's really not necessary. Save that sheet format, make those option changes, and you'll be on your way to being a better designer.